planet? Is Janet from another 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 planet?
The opinions you're about to hear on this show are strictly those of the panel.
Today's digital landscape with the spread of false information can lead to dangerous outcomes. It's crucial for everyone to think critically and verify sources and reflect on the impact of what they share. Let's promote responsible communication to ensure that truth prevails and actions remain rooted in reality.
The following program is rated TV MA-LSV. It contains strong language, sexual situations, and violence. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Well, hello everyone. Hope you guys are having a wonderful evening. Since everybody and their brother is talking about stuff going on in Minnesota right now and the Maduro thing, I figured I'd just talk about the all the stuff that's been coming out about the election fraud. That's all been going to, different courts in different states. So I thought I'd talk about that and save that other stuff for tomorrow night for the Friday Night Shit Show with the guys and stuff on there. So since I'm by myself, I figured I'd just play some videos, old stuff and new stuff, showing how the old stuff is finally being proven in court, that type of stuff. So, and I'll also share any of that in the chat if anyone's interested. But to me, it's important because nobody's talking about it. People always say how, they do this and do that to misdirect you. Everybody's looking over at the shiny thing over there when they really should be looking over there. So, I'm trying to look in the other areas while people are pointing their finger over in Minnesota, basically, about, the woman that was shot and a few other things that have been going on because of that. But, if you don't want to get hurt, don't go to places where you shouldn't be. especially when it's legal. They're allowed to remove people that aren't American citizens. So, I feel really bad that people might be hurt, but don't go. So I tell people, stay out of it. If it does nothing to do with you, don't go there, because you're risking your family and loved ones heartache. So, but I want to say thank you for Jackie. I really appreciate you helping. I wish you could stay through the whole show. I know you don't get to, but because of your job, but it just sometimes really sucks when I get someone in here and I'm busy trying to do other things, because it's hard. People don't realize how hard it is to watch the chat and then also present things, try to do the talking, and share stuff like that. Oh, hey there. Thank you for stopping in. I really appreciate it. And it's just hard. It's hard to keep up with it, but I do the best I can. Oh, hello there. Thank you for stopping in. We're going to be talking about election fraud and stuff, since everybody is talking about Minnesota and Maduro stuff. So I figured we'd save that for tomorrow night, because I'm sure we're going to have more juicy stuff to add to the show tomorrow night because of that. But I wanted to start off with this video that came out, I think it was back in 2020 still, when Lou Dobbs had, the Kraken Sidney Powell on his show talking about some stuff. And before all the lawfare and everything against everybody that tried to come forward and share what they knew. And some of the videos I saw was like, holy crap. If I did that when I worked in the polling area, I would have been arrested. So, man, I just saw corruption out the wazoo, but none of those things would fly in the two states that I worked the polls in, Louisiana and Arkansas. So it's just shocking to me that any state would let some of the stuff go on that was going on. And they handpicked just a couple people to throw under the bus, so they could say, see, we did something. It's pathetic. But basically that's where we're at. It's taken years to get through all the corruption of the judicial system that's so corrupt. So many bad lawyers, so many bad judges, so many corrupt people on juries. It's like everybody and their brother. If they got their hand out, they want to expect, give me, or I'm not going to do anything for you. It's just like, I guarantee if we could follow half of these protesters around, they're all getting paid to be there, because I just don't see the people going through some of the stuff that they'd go through for nothing, for no money, or, for their time and effort, gas, hotels, food, and everything. And it's so expensive. So I don't know. It's just, to me, it's just really hard to understand why people would put themselves in all this mess. But I wanted to share this. This is a Lou Dobbs interviewing Sidney Powell in December of 2020, exposing Venezuela. And then this whole thing with him being arrested and all this stuff. This is one of the reasons why I think that it's not just about drugs, and I don't think it's just about oil. And if you listen to Glenn Beck and a few others, how they're trying to put the pieces together, I think it's way bigger than people realize. The corruption and the people involved in cheating to make sure Trump never got in. At least they tried to. The thing is, they weren't prepared for the huge amount of people that showed up to overwhelm the system when he beat Hillary. So I think it was involved way back then. But in 2020, when the whole thing was going on with the COVID mess, and just so much stuff was going on, that the swing states, it was hard to make sure that everything was being run properly, to make sure that there was less corruption. And when you have so many people taking money to make sure this, that, or the other happens for a certain person and not someone else, it's really sad that's where we are, because all the people I worked with were getting like, $50 for working the whole day, all day long, and counting ballots and being there early and bringing your lunch, because we couldn't leave. There's just so many rules and regulations. And that's why I tell people, sign up. If you ever get a chance, sign up to work the polls, even if it's for a special election or whatever, just so you understand what is going on in your state when an election happens. And then when you see something later on, like some of the videos that were coming out showing what people were doing, you'll go, wow, they're cheating. You'll know because you've been there, you've done it, and it's blatant to see when people are breaking the law because you don't write on other people's ballots. There's just so much. And so I wanted to start off with this, and I'm going to open this up and start this video. So here we go.
Our first guest tonight has new information regarding electoral fraud in the radical left's efforts to steal an election, and she charges 4 individuals as authors of what she calls a Pearl Harbor style cyber attack on the 2020 presidential election. There are 4 names that she highlights. They are Jorge Rodriguez, the communications minister of Venezuela; Khalil Mazoub, Jorge Rodriguez's right-hand man; Gustavo Reyes Zumeta, who designed programs to rig election machines; and Antonio Mojica, the CEO of Smartmatic, an electoral voting corporation. Joining us now is Sidney Powell, a distinguished attorney, former federal prosecutor, best-selling author, General Michael Flynn's defense attorney, and as we all know, a great American. Sidney, great to have you with us. You say these 4 individuals led the effort to rig this election. How did they do it?
Well, Lou, they designed and developed the Smartmatic and Dominion programs and machines that include a controller module that allows people to log in and manipulate the vote even as it's happening. We're finding more and more evidence of this. We now have reams and reams of actual documents from Smartmatic and Dominion, including evidence that they planned and executed all of this. We know that $400 million of money came into Smartmatic from China only a few weeks before the election, that there are George Soros connections to the entire endeavor. Lord Malloch Brown was part of it, along with the other people from Dominion. Eric Coomers, the person who also holds patents on some of the software and was operating out of the Denver office, I believe. We know that one of the Smartmatic people has went to Tarrant County, Texas, and turned that county blue after having been an executive with Smartmatic. And all of a sudden, this one election, Tarrant County is purportedly blue. We have evidence of how they flipped the votes, how it was designed to flip the votes, and that all of it has been happening just as we have been saying it has been.
What is the evidence that you have compiled? How have you constructed the architecture of this relationship among these 4 individuals?
Well, we are still reviewing the massive amount of documents that we have, but we have communications between them and all different kinds of messages that indicate their involvement in it. It's a massive amount of additional information to go through that's only been in our hands a short time, but we will be producing more and more of it. It will be coming out more by the day. And also the connections with the Chinese and other countries that were attacking us in this massive cyber Pearl Harbor, as we called it.
Jorge Rodriguez, I want to go through, we're going to put up on the screen so people can follow the conversation here, because these are names that most of us are not familiar with. You say that Jorge Rodriguez, the Venezuelan, former Venezuelan communications minister, is the ringleader, the CEO of the enterprise, as you put it. What is the evidence that this former communications minister could reach into the U.S. electoral system and raise the havoc and commit the fraud that obviously we have witnessed in 2020?
Well, we've known from early on in our independent investigation that the entire system was created for the benefit of Venezuela and Hugo Chavez to rig elections to make sure he continued winning. And then it was passed on to Mr. Maduro to do the same. And we know it was exported to other countries by virtue of some of the Dominion executives that proceeded to go about and essentially sell elections to the highest bidder. We know, for example, that Mr. Rodriguez has been on TV incessantly trying to and actually mocking the United States. He is one of the highest
Venezuelan television?
Yes, Venezuelan television. And he's been one of the leaders of the whole election stealing project. But keep in mind, Venezuela has been highly influenced by the Chinese. And we know from filings with the SEC and otherwise that the Chinese put $400 million into Dominion only 4 weeks before the election. And they shared office space with George Soros companies, as well as the leadership of Lord Malloch Brown in the UK and Canada. It is a very concerning and troubling and illegal web of conduct that all of which focused on rigging the election in this country. And we're seeing the results in multiple states where we're now identifying specific votes flipped, like in a couple of Georgia counties. In fact, Coffee County, Georgia, just yesterday, I believe, refused to certify the results of the election in Coffee County because of the vote disparities and flipping. We're getting more and more evidence out of other counties across the country about the same kind of conduct. We knew from Antrim County, for example, in Michigan, that 6,000 votes magically were flipped on election night. I think the cause of that is going to become more and more apparent as we proceed in the investigation. And frankly, our National Security Agency and Defense Intelligence Agency need to be all over this immediately. The evidence is overwhelming and extremely troubling that this has been going on, and it didn't just start this year.
We're going to be back with Sydney. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to examine in some detail the reasons for what is apparently a broadly coordinated effort to actually bring down this president by ending his second term before it could begin. We're back now with
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm muted. What's so sad is when all this started coming out, they had so much evidence, and as soon as they started to bring it out, that's when the lawfare all started, and it hasn't stopped. So they are well funded. The people that have been trying to stop this from happening, which is coming out, was all the people involved in Venezuela. And now that we know that when they went in and took him out, that he was completely surrounded and being guarded by Cuban military. So Cuba was involved, China was involved, multiple governments from other countries were involved in some way, because they all want to see America fail. And that's what's so scary about it. And that's why it's so important that we get all this lawfare taken care of in the different states, which I'm going to be showing some of the court stuff that's coming out of each of these states. But the sad thing is that so many people don't want to believe that this is true, that any of this happened. And if you just pretend it didn't happen and we just let it go, we don't know who's in charge of our government. We don't know who owns who. And when you have a president and administration is trying to get to the bottom of it, well, apparently they're not in it. if they're trying to get to the bottom of it and you have a judge in your state that you put in that you trust and they help with it, are you going to still think that all of these people are corrupt that are trying to get this exposed? See, that's what I don't understand. I want to see it. I think we've had a president that's trying to be as transparent as possible. I mean, he can't tell us, hey, we're going to about to fly in and capture this guy, or we're going to go in and do this and that before we do anything. We have to have some trust in the government to do the jobs, but to tell us afterward why they did it and how they did it, if they can, without exposing people and getting them in danger. But the thing is, I've never seen a government so transparent. I mean, every single thing he signs, he's got news people there. They're showing it. They're talking about it. He's trying to explain everything. And it's sad that we don't have a Congress that's doing stuff instead of trying to fight Trump from being able to do the things that we, the voters, a majority of us that voted for him, that's why he won, want to see happen. And we just got a Congress that's just dragging their butts along the ground like a dog with worms. That's all I see. I don't see kicking and screaming and clawing their way to stop Trump any way they can. I mean, look, it's been a whole year and they haven't even gotten all Trump's picks for federal judges in. So like when they brought Comey up to be indicted, look what happened. Nothing so far. It got thrown out. So we have to make sure that when we bring this stuff out, that we can have decent judges in there that are going to actually look at the letter of the law and try to, get to the bottom of stuff. But we have to be bringing stuff up in the states that it happened in, for one, in federal courts in states that it happened in, that type of thing. And if they're all corrupt, nothing's going to happen. And all I hear is nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen. Well, it's not going to happen if you guys don't get off your ass and tell your congressmen to get off their butt and do their damn jobs that we're paying for with our tax dollars. So I'm going to finish playing the rest of this. Sorry, I went on another tangent.
With attorney Sidney Powell, she was describing a cyber Pearl Harbor in the 2020 election, focusing on 4 names. I would also like to put up this element from your investigation. If we could have that full screen up so that we could all go through that with the audience, because it's important as we look at these 4 names. We're talking about a very large foreign intrusion and interference in the election of 2020. Give us, it's outrageous that we have an attorney general, Sidney, who has said that he sees no sign of any significant fraud that would overturn the election. We had a head of the cyber intelligence unit for the Department of Homeland Security who's suing some people apparently for saying that his report basically was nonsense when he declared it was the most secure election in the country's history. What are we dealing with here, and how can we get to this if we have an attorney general who has apparently lost both his nerve and his commitment to his oath of office and to the country? We have an FBI director who seems to be as politically corrupt as anyone who preceded him, and a Homeland Security Department that doesn't know what the hell it's talking about and is spending more time playing politics, at least as it applies to Mr. Krebs, than securing the nation. Your thoughts?
I think it's time for a whole new team across the board, Lou. There's no explanation for the way the FBI has treated witnesses, good American citizens who've been brave enough to come forward with direct evidence of things like thousands of ballots moving from one state to another in the middle of the night to do what is called backfilling into the machines so that they can perpetrate their fraud, because President Trump won so many votes, he blew up their algorithm. The American people blew up the algorithm they created before the election to shave votes from Biden and give them to Trump. And we're now seeing direct evidence of that happening. in multiple counties in multiple states, and we know it happened across the country. You'd have to be a damn fool and abjectly stupid not to see what happened here for anybody who's willing to look at the real evidence. I've uploaded a ton of it on our website at defendingtherepublic.org. And Twitter is even trying to destroy our new website, kraken-wood.com, where we're also trying to get the word out to the American people on what's been happening here and the truth. And
Yeah, that's one of the things too. You got to remember Twitter and Facebook were two of the biggest naysayers that were going on, because I remember I posted a few things and they took it down on Twitter. I was on Facebook for a little while, but then I deleted my account because it was so corrupt. I mean, if you said anything about the, just like it is right now, anyone who does YouTube like I do knows that if you said anything about the jab, or if you said anything about child pedophilia, or if you said anything about human trafficking, or if you said anything about, you know, so many different things, they would take your video down and give you a warning or things like that. Just, it was ridiculous. Instead of letting people watch it and make their own decision, they figured you, the watchers, are too dumb to be able to decipher what's real and what isn't. Just like AI. I mean, I've been watching some of these stupid AI videos where, you know, giant sharks are leaping up and grabbing people, you know, off the docks and boats and just random stuff. And it's sad. I mean, I think it should be marked, but if they don't mark it, it's not the end of the world. You can figure out pretty much that it's fake. I mean, if you just, to me, use common sense, and it should help you weed through a lot of the bull crap. But it just seems like when you own Google and YouTube and all the different giant corporations that have all the say, there's not much you can do about it when you're nobody, when you don't own it, and you don't, you know, you can't defend yourself. So basically you're at the will of them. And before X was bought, which right now I'm not real happy with X, because you can't get a human being to help you with any of your problems. It's all AI, and it's AI generated crap. And I just think it's ridiculous. I mean, we are losing so far, from what I can tell, what it's like to have a hands-on company that actually has real people that talk to you about anything that you're having problems with. It's pathetic. And but it's good to see that this stuff is finally making its rounds. It took years and years, 5 years of going to court, and a lot of people like Sidney Powell and others that got arrested and put in jail because they were trying to tell the truth, and we're finding out who was really involved behind it. It was all lawfare. They were trying to stop it because they were so desperate to win that they if they'd only put in 100 here and 100 there, they probably never would have got caught. But when you put in hundreds of thousands of votes, and then you have all these workers watching, and they see a rise in one person, you know, rising hundreds of thousands of ballots higher, and then all of a sudden, in a split second, the 100,000 votes are gone, and now it's the other person in there. I mean, just obvious crap. And when you walk by a table and you see someone with stacks of ballots in front of them that are already, you know, been voted on, and then another person filling in blanks on it, on that one, and putting it aside, and doing another one and putting it aside, it's not their ballot. You're supposed to get one ballot per person. That's it. And if you make a mistake, you take it back to the table that you got it from, and they have to sign, all of them, everyone at that table has to put their initials on that ballot, and then the judge comes over and he initials it, and then they put that ballot in an envelope and they mark spoiled ballot on it, and they seal it. They put that in there, so at the end of the night, when you count, well, you handed out 320 ballots, so you should have 321 ballots, because you have the spoiled ballot also, which you'll count and put aside. You don't count it as a vote, you count the ballots. Then once you have the ballots and you have 320 like you passed out, then you go, how many's for this person? How many's for that person? Blah, 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 all down the line. But you only had this many ballots. When you at the end of the night have 100,000 ballots more than you had actual voters come in, where'd the ballots come from? It's to me, it's common sense to be able to figure out that people are cheating. But apparently, everyone was afraid to say anything, because after you started seeing these people being arrested and losing everything they had because they were having to pay everything they had just to stay out of prison for doing nothing but trying to show the truth, it was pathetic. And the same thing when January 6th happened. It was all corrupt. People were throwing their weight around because they feel you are too stupid to know what's best for you, like freedom. They don't want you to be free. They want you to do what you're told and shut up when they tell you to shut up. And that's what was going on. Let me go back and push play again. Sorry.
Upload documents. Twitter took our account down the first night.
Let me make you an offer very straightforwardly. We will gladly put forward your evidence that supports your claim that this was a cyber Pearl Harbor. We have tremendous evidence already, but of fraud in this election. But I will be glad to put forward on this broadcast whatever evidence you have, and we'll be glad to do it immediately.
Awesome.
We'll work overnight. We will take up whatever air we're permitted beyond this broadcast. But we have to get to the bottom of this, and the question now is not about the integrity or the energy of those responsible for securing the national interest for defending this country. It's how in the hell do we defend this country and secure the interest of this company without them? That's really the two questions.
Yes, well, the American people are going to have to insist on paper ballots with real identification. That's going to be one of the key things.
Well, that's going to be great for the next. Sydney, I've got to tell you, I'm not even going to contemplate the next election. I'm not even contemplating the January 5th election in Georgia. The hell with that. If the people of Georgia are dumb enough, after what they have gone through in the November 3rd election, to then go toward January 5th and a runoff and think that changing nothing will change the outcome, then the people of Georgia aren't half as smart as I believe them to be. And I believe the patriots in Georgia should stop this nonsense now. It is not something that to be decided about over who do you favor, which party, which candidate. This is now about faith in the electoral system in one specific state that may control the destiny of this country. And by God, it's too important for anyone. And I don't care what party you're in. I don't care whether you're an independent. This is too important to act as if nothing happened on November 3rd and to pretend that there will be a different outcome on January 5th. It's idiotic. The ridiculous leadership, completely. And I mean the governor and the Secretary of State, have got to find, if not the integrity, the primal fear of the voters in Georgia to stop what's going on and stop it now.
I agree with you completely, Lou. This is the future of the republic, whether we continue to exist as the Republic of the United States of America. And every patriotic American needs to stand up right now and make their voices heard, that we will not tolerate this. The chips need to fall wherever they fall. We lost gubernatorial seats. I'm sure we lost congressional seats. We lost Senate seats that we should have had. They have been perpetrating a fraud on the United States for the last 10 years, telling us we were turning blue when we were not. We have been clearly going red because the American people love this country, regardless of whether they came from, where they came from. American citizens came here for freedom and justice and liberty for all.
Well, Sydney, I guess we're going to conclude with my final question. We're out of time. We've gone well over. what can be done right now. How much time do you need to get that evidence to this broadcast, and we'll put it on the air?
I will get you some more information that's just stunning tonight.
All right, Sidney Powell.
Well, pretty scary stuff, I think. That was right after. That was in right after the election, and years ago in 2020. So this was in December of 2020, almost a month after elections, and they already said they had all that stuff. And then I heard rumors that they had raided some places that had illegal ballots, and they had illegal servers or something, and they were hooked up to the Smartmatic machines, and tons and tons of stuff like that. I kept hearing more and more of that. And then every person that was saying it was getting shut down. They were getting told they can't say this, you can't do that. They were losing their accounts. It was horrible. It was a lawfare, basically. So if you didn't have shit tons of money that you can just roll around in out in the desert, then basically you got shut down. There was nothing you could do about it. And that is why I started paying more and more attention, because the people that were actually getting told to, shut the hell up. You don't know what you're talking about or whatever. And I just thought it was terrible. But I wanted to share that first, because all the other stuff that you're going to hear now, this is years and years later, in 2025 and 2026 at the end, basically. So here we go. Here's this next thing I found. I thought was really good. This is all about the election stuff. So here you go. Here's this. And I was reading this when it came across my timeline. It says, let me push pause real quick. It's a high possibility that all 51 intelligence agents who lied about Hunter Biden's laptop are also involved in the grand conspiracy to manipulate elections. And this is all coming out on the news. These are more and more news people are willing to come forward because of the Smith-Mundt Act. They didn't have to. They could say whatever they wanted, and there was nothing you could do about it. It was thanks to the changes that Obama made, and they signed off on it because everybody just loved Obama. It didn't matter what he did, whether it was corrupt or not. They were like Obama's lapdogs, most of these people, and that's why I want all those people out. I want anyone that's willing to be anyone's lapdog and just do it for money. For what they're going to get, or how many more houses they might get, or new cars, or prostitutes, or whatever it is. I want them. I want them out. But here we go.
The difference is in 2024, the evidence is there. We now have the Durham investigation. We have all the congressional investigations. There is now hard evidence that there was election interference by the U.S. intelligence agencies and the Department of Justice. They've got to be terrified. Those individuals have to be terrified.
Yeah, they're showing these different people that are named. So start paying attention. Start hearing more and more of these names, or seeing more and more of these names coming out. You're going to know who they are, because it took a lot of people. Basically took half the government, I guess, maybe a third,
They've got to be
make sure,
terrified. Those individuals have to be terrified.
it paid off. And it did. We had Biden. That's why I said Biden for 4 years, and all that stuff coming out about the auto pin, and that basically they had to keep him drugged up and help him go anywhere. He's falling down. sleeping his pants, falling asleep. He was just a zombie.
Those individuals have to be terrified.
But look at all these people. It took a lot of people in the right positions to be able to do these jobs. Make sure it all was
So then go up to 2020. It was the CIA this time that got involved in the 2020 election with those 51 former intel agents who talked about the Hunter Biden laptop as
a lot of these people
disinformation. So they've gotten away with it for 2 elections.
One thing or another to make sure everything unfolded the way it was supposed to.
The difference is in 2024, the evidence.
And I'm going to share this
we now have the Durham investigation. We have all the congressional investigations. There is now hard evidence that there was election interference by the U.S. intelligence agencies and the Department of Justice. They've got to be terrified.
Let me put this in there quick. Share it in the chat. And then here's the other one. That's why this is important, because it's got a lot of people's names.
Those individuals have to be terrified.
And you're going to start seeing a lot of these people's names come out over the next this next year. You're going to start seeing more and more, but it's important so that we can get something done. And you have to know the names and what these people were, what they did and how they did it. That's what's so important. They did most of it electronically, but you had to have the right people go in and out of the different buildings with all the stuff, you know, with the right things to get things done. But here's another one that I want you to hear. That one that I just put in the chat was basically just a list of all the people's names and what their jobs were. And then you'll take that and you're going to be able to put it together as each of the states come out with their different things and who did what and how they were able to do it. Okay, this is this is Mike Lindell. This is something he posted. Everybody's made fun of him since day one. And it says he had this evidence 5 years ago, just like Sidney Powell. And this is for the state of Nevada. Okay. I'm going to share all this right here in the chat. I'm going to copy it so you guys can see it. And then I'm going to pause it and start it over again. And I'm going to bring this up and I'm going to play this for you. So now here you go. Listen to this.
42,000 people in Nevada voted more than once, according to your work in this. 42,000 people. 1,500 people voted in Nevada that were dead. 19,000 people voted though they did not live in Nevada and they weren't a college student. 8,000 people voted from a non-existent address. 15,000 people voted though they were registered to a commercial address or a vacant address. And 4,000 people voted in Nevada that are non-citizens. My question to you is, in my state, when someone votes twice, and we do have that occasionally, and about 50 times a year that actually occurs in our state, we prosecute individuals that vote twice. Mm-hmm. Of this 130,000 instances that you have identified from the 2020 election in Nevada, do you know of any prosecutions currently going on in Nevada for any voter fraud?
Not yet, Senator, and that's extremely important. These laws have to be enforced. We, of course, I represent the Trump campaign and the campaign's electors. I don't represent the government. We can't bring prosecutions. But if we are going to enforce voter integrity laws, they must be enforced. And we are confident that although it often takes a long time to put together a fraud case, although it takes prosecutors months, sometimes even years, to go through subpoenas and warrants and using the FBI to go investigate these things, once a good hard look at these cases is examined, an honest look, if we do that, there should be charges brought. Because the ranking member brought up in his remarks that when you lose the principle of one person, one vote, the end result is authoritarianism. That's exactly what we're saying here today.
So the thing is, if we can't get it to where it's one person, one vote, then there's no way that we can control what's going on and have free elections, fair elections, like we're supposed to. And the truth is, I've worked the polls in 2 different states, and if every person at each of the tables where people come to get their ballots and stuff follow the law and do what they're told, you don't have cheating, and you have a balanced number at the end. Because if each person's only handed 1 ballot, they can only turn in one. So it will be completely fair and even for everyone. It's only when you have the corrupt people come in with boxes of ballots and start putting them in the machines with no accountability that you have cheating. That's the only way that you can possibly do that. That's with paper ballots. But when it's electronic, where anybody and their brother, as you've seen, can hack into your bank accounts, can get your emails, they can do all this kind of stuff by getting on the internet and hooking up to your computer. So if we don't have anything in a voting area that's electronic, everybody counts the ballots by hand and they mark their ballots by hand, and there's no machines involved, it's really, really hard to get massive amounts of fraud, because unless you have half the people or all the people that are corrupt, you're not going to have a bunch of cheating going on, because it's just really hard to cheat when you have paper ballots and you have people that, are there for the right reason. This one here is another one that was pretty good. It says that damning email obtained by King Solomon through the Freedom of Information Act. It says the Central Intelligence Agency conspired and succeeded in the overthrow of the United States government on November 3rd, 2020. In a stunning exchange, CIA Director Mike Morrow turns to fellow director John Brennan and asks if he would join in toppling the United States government during the November 3rd, 2020 election. Brennan not only agrees, but also expresses his gratitude. CIA Mike Morrell, can I add your name to this list? We'll be adding Leon Panetta, Sue Gordon, and then he has a list of names, which I'm going to share this in the thing with you guys. But it's got all these names. I mean, tons of names that we saw earlier, the 51 people that was listed on the thing. That's why I want to share this whole thing with you. But this is John Solomon, and he's going to talk to you about it. But I'm going to share the link to this so that you can get all the information yourself and read it. Go look up more from this information. Don't just take my word for it, and don't just take their word for it. Look this stuff up. That's why I try to share everything I can in the chat so that you can look it up yourself. And unless the video is taken down, if it's taken down off YouTube, you can go to Rumble and watch it. You can go to X and watch it. That's why I like to do it on different platforms and not just one. I used to do that, but now I pay so that I can do other platforms and not just YouTube, so that I can get the information out as best I can. Even though I'm not paid, I don't get any money. I haven't made a single dime off any of these people. I pay every month to have StreamYard, just so I can share this stuff, because I think it's important as a military brat, and for me and my family and your families to stay free. We have to fight for our country. Freedom isn't free. We have to work to keep these people not to be crooked, to do what we hired them to do. And we did hire these people. When we go to the ballots and we vote them in, we have a special election and we vote them in, it's us that hired them. And guess what? It's our tax dollars that pay their bills. So we should get something from that, don't you think? What we asked for. So here we go. I'm going to play this, and then I will get the link and put it in the chat for you.
A short while ago, Just the News obtained this email. This is a very important email. It comes from the former CIA director, Mike Morrell. Yes, the guy that organized that letter from the 51 intelligence professionals who tried to fake you into thinking that the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation when it wasn't. It is between him and John Brennan, one of the signatories. You know who John Brennan is? He was Obama's CIA director, right? He's the guy that told Obama, hey, Hillary Clinton is doing a dirty trick on Donald Trump called Russia collusion. Well, this is just before the presidential debate between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Hunter Biden's laptop is flinging out there. This is what Mike Morell, former CIA director, tells his successor, John Brennan, hey, sign this letter because I'm, quote, trying to give the campaign, particularly during the debate on Thursday, a talking point to push back on Trump on this issue. A man with a security clearance, a man with the title of CIA director, knew that he wasn't creating an intelligence product, a mere civic duty with 51 people. He was trying to create a political moment. Damning evidence. We'll try to find out if Congress has this letter, but this is a very important piece. It is the ultimate proof that what went out on that letter was a political dirty trick coordinated with the Biden campaign.
Yeah. So there you go. There's another tidbit of juicy information, and I shared that for you in the chat, so you can get it later if you want it. And here is another one. Hold on, I gotta get it, present it. Oh, I just wish I was so much better at this. Okay, here we go. Okay, this one has a very famous name added to it, Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton's own 2016 campaign manager, Robbie Mook, who testified in court of law under oath, said Hillary Clinton personally approved an effort to overthrow the United States government in 2016. Now, remember, during that whole fiasco that was going on, we had a young man, I'm trying to remember what his name is, I always forget his name, that was killed. He was found on the sidewalk, supposedly with his wallet and everything on him. But he worked for the DNC. And supposedly he's the one that leaked stuff to WikiLeaks showing that Hillary Clinton was the one that got her running mate that was going to run against her to get the nomination for the Democratic Party, which was Bernie Sanders. And he had evidence for that. So all of a sudden he shows up dead. So because he leaked information out. But, I want you guys to listen to this. This is pretty interesting. So here we go.
Hillary Clinton personally signed off on this. Personally, Hillary Clinton herself.
We've all been watching this for days, and I plan on being there every single day to make sure I hear every bit of testimony. This was amazing. I never heard so many pens click and start immediately writing. I got reporters asking me for clarification. What did that mean? What did that mean? Are they in trouble? And I said, that was very big. That was very big. He just cut it right to the top. And thank you very much, Robbie Mook, for what you did today. Made it very clear there was a phone call. She paid Fusion GPS through her campaign, through her lawyers, and that she was actually told that there were papers provided that had not been verified, that she had not, and they said we had no DNS expertise. We just figured the media would take it and do their own vetting. Now, remember, the media that they went to was Slate. It was not the New York Times. It was not the Wall Street Journal, which maybe is a little bit more sophisticated. It was Slate. On top of that, this was the same time that she was deleting emails and that she was having her own problems with her servers. So she and her team have an October surprise. And this has been a real big theme by the Durham team. And it's exactly what happened. And then October 31st, ironically, she retweets Jake Sullivan's tweet that, oh my God, cybersecurity, crimes. Trump has a server with Alpha Bank. Complete lie.
Yeah. Yeah, there are a couple of quotes I want to highlight for everybody here. The first one I think is from Robbie Mook, who in his testimony, and look at what he said here. He said 2 or 3 of the most damaging days of the campaign were caused by Comey, not Trump. And the other one is very interesting, and this goes back a few months actually to Hillary Clinton. If the election were on October 27th, I'd be your president, Clinton said in May of 2017.
Yeah. So, see, that's even more stuff that's coming out because they have evidence now. They have the evidence they need to prove that Hillary Clinton is the one that put out the PP dossier and used her campaign money to put it out, even though Obama signed off on it too. They knew it was fake. Okay. But the thing is, when you're putting out false information that you know is not true to hurt your opponent, running for a huge office like that, that's illegal. You know, that's breaking the law. That's like your next door neighbor calling the police and saying that you came to their house and robbed them, basically. And then you have to go to court, defend yourself, even though you never did anything. And then if you have cameras or whatever, and you prove that you didn't do it, because now it's them against you, you should be able to sue them. And they should have to pay you back for everything that you had to spend. But it doesn't give you back the time that you lost because you were defending yourself against lies that they knew were lies. And that's exactly what Hillary Clinton, Comey, Obama, all of them did to Trump. Okay. And the evidence is finally coming out now. Now, here's some more. This one is from the state of Arizona. Earlier, remember, we played Nevada, and they were talking about Las Vegas and some of the other cities and some of the counties or whatever, but I don't remember the names of them. But I shared that in the chat too. This is from an Arizona audit of the election month of 2020. Arizona's Secretary of State, Katie Hobbs, was dragged to her own crime scene, witnessed her crime scene, and yet certified her crime scene, which is true, basically. Batch after batch after batch of ballots were sent for duplication, but there was no unique serial number or identification number on the ballots that had been duplicated. So, meaning no original ballots ever existed. So all the duplicates that were put back in over and over again was basically making all the people that voted for Katie Hobbs and went there on their own and made ballots and filled them out like they were supposed to legally. They made all those people criminals by taking their ballot with the numbers on it that match their name that's in their book, and then all the stuff when you learn how to do that, go through the machine multiple times. So basically every one of those people voted 3 times, 4 times, depending on how many times they were able to put it through the machine. So they made normal people like you and I that would fill out our ballot, showed our driver's license, whatever, got our ballot, one ballot, and then we casted our ballot. And then we went home saying, I did my job. I fought for my country. I voted for who I believed would do the best job. Then, instead of thanking you for doing a good job for them, they take your ballot because you voted for them and they put it in the machine multiple times and make you look like a criminal. Pretty nice of them, huh? Because that's how that numbers. That's why those numbers are so important, because they go back to a book that you signed for to get your one ballot. But now that ballot's been in there multiple times, and he's proving it right here in this thing you're about to watch. Here we go. Make sure it's turned up. Yeah. Okay.
You'll notice that there's 3 that are duplicates. So while the count in here, we'd expect it to be 3 lower than what their total count was because they're taken out for duplicates. For the example that they gave us, there's nothing listed. And so our understanding, if this form is filled out properly, the duplicates should be referenced in here. And we're not finding that be the case. And our numbers across the board showed that. We took into account duplicates in the information that we gave, and it wasn't explained. So I'm still uncertain as to why these boxes are off and these sheets do not match the reality of what we're running into.
Logan said that duplicate ballots are created when the original ballot is damaged and can't be run through the system. In addition, according to the former Secretary of State and current Audit Director Ken Bennett, each duplicate ballot must have a 6-digit serial number printed on it that matches a 6-digit serial number printed on the original damaged ballot that it corresponds to. However, Bennett said they can't find the original ballots that match up to the duplicated ballots.
We are finding a 6-digit unique identifier serial number, it says in 16621, on the duplicate ballots, but we're not finding a corresponding serial number on the original ballot that was damaged or otherwise had to be duplicated. In fact, I was so surprised that I brought the two observers from the Secretary of State's office over, along with some other volunteer observers from various parties, just to kind of document that we're running into batch after batch after batch of ballots sent to duplication, but there's no unique serial number or identification number on the ballot that had to be duplicated that should correspond with a ballot over in the has been duplicated box.
Bennett said those should match up one for one, and they should match up to the total number of ballots as a whole.
We are struggling as to how we're going to be able to match up ballots sent to be duplicated with the ballots that were duplicated if one of those, the originals, are missing that 6-digit number.
So basically, just like I was saying earlier, I shared that link in the chat for you already. So basically, what I said earlier, that when someone would come to you and you gave them a ballot, when you're at a table and they went down the thing, and you have the people that look at the driver's license, look at their address and stuff in the book of that has all the information on there, and then you write down their name, on a sheet, and then we have a copy of it so that we have different copies showing everyone's name and signature of who voted. So depending on your state, how it's laid out, but everyone is set up to where everyone gets one ballot. So if somebody makes a mistake, many people have done it where you checked off the wrong person. Okay, you say you wanted to vote for that guy as a sheriff, and you accidentally voted for the other person. So you would take that ballot back to the table of the people that gave you the ballot and say, I messed up on my ballot. I need a new one, which they do, okay? Because you have a right to have one vote and vote for the person you want, not take whatever you got because you made a mistake on your ballot. We take it, and we all put our initial on it, because everyone that touched that ballot as it went down the line, there's usually 5 at a table, 6, depending on how they set it up, will put their initial on it, saying, because we know it's a spoiled ballot. Then a judge, a real judge for your county or your district or whatever, will come over and he will validate that all of us put our initials on there. He'll put it in an envelope and seal it and write spoiled ballot on it. Okay, the person's name isn't on it, but there's a number at the bottom of it, just like he was saying. We take that and we put it in the ballot thing, or in the thing with all the other ballots that have been put in to be counted. Okay, it's in there. We give the lady another ballot to go through the same process, and then she will, when she's done, she'll come and she'll drop it in the ballot box to be counted. But at the end of the night, we'll have a total that we had 320 ballots handed out, because we had this many ballots to start off with. Let's say 500 or whatever your number is, and you got minus 320. Okay, so then at the end of the night, when we count to see, how many votes we have for each of the people that are on the list, we should only have 320 ballots with a vote, right? We'll have a spoiled ballot, but that will be minused from it, because we know we passed out that many ballots. But we should only have this many votes, because only one of her votes will count. That's how it all balances out, if you do it by the book and you follow the rules and you make it legal. And that means every person will get one ballot. It's a lot of work, but the people who volunteer to work the polls usually do it because they believe in the system and they want you to have one vote. So if people do it right, it works out perfectly. People get one vote, and that's the way it's supposed to be. So that's why I was trying to share as much of this stuff as I could, because that's Arizona and Nevada. That's 2 other states. And they talked earlier about Georgia. So that's 3 different states already. That all this stuff, all these years going back and forth. A few people getting arrested for being ballot mules, and a few people doing this for harvesting ballots and different things like that. So people have already been prosecuted, but no big people, no huge giant thing that's laying out yet. But that stuff is starting to add up, because when you have all these different people all in the same general states and counties, because that's where most of the cheating took place, because it didn't happen in massive amounts in every state. It only happened in massive amounts in a few of the swing states that I know of. So, and as it keeps coming out, we're going to get more and more information. But you got to have courts that are fair, a court that can read everything and see what the evidence is and be able to have it be legal, because they want the truth out, and just go by the letter of the law. If their evidence is there, then people should see it. If there's no evidence, then you say, hey, this isn't evidence. This is, I don't know what this is, but it's not evidence to prove anything. And show it to people. Show people why it's not real evidence. People are smart enough to understand if you give them the stuff to see it. I 100% trust the people. The people are the ones that are going to be on your jury if you ever have to go to court. Those people, the people, every year since you've been voting and you've gone to work the polls, do you honestly believe that every single person in there working is crooked? No, that's not. It's very rare that you're going to have 1 or 2 people that are going to try to cheat. Yes, that does happen. And I agree that does happen. But every single person that volunteers to go and work the polls or count ballots or whatever it is, or be a poll watcher, is not corrupt. They're not all in on it. You only need a few of the top people to be in on it for it to happen. So that's why I know that everyone isn't involved. But the people that did do it deserve to have their day in court. I just want to see people who were corrupt and make people want to vote again and believe that their vote matters. That's why I always tell people, please volunteer if you get a chance to work the polls, so you can see how the system is supposed to work. And if people go there like you, that believe in something and want to see it work the right way, and why our forefathers were such geniuses when they set up the way they did with the Electoral College and different things like that, so that small states can compete against a big state when it comes to the votes, because it can work. It's a really good system when you have non-corrupt people running it. So that's what we need. But this is another one. It says this is more documents, classified documents and emails released by the CIA director about Hillary Clinton conspiring with the intelligence community and George Soros to overthrow the United States government. It's another a whole thing with this. This is another interview about basically the same thing, about who was involved in the whole thing. But here we go. Let's see.
The documents contain emails, allegedly from the senior vice president of the George Soros Open Society Foundation. He quotes a Clinton campaign advisor saying, quote, "It will be a long-term affair," and to demonize Putin and Trump, and adds that, quote, "Later, the FBI will put more oil into the fire," unquote. Other emails reveal Hillary Clinton approved the idea of tying Trump and Russia to election interference. And that was a scheme, hoping the allegations would distract people from her own email scandal. These documents provide clear evidence that Hillary Clinton's campaign was behind the Russia hoax, and that the FBI knew what the Clinton team was up to, acknowledging that the info they were receiving about the Trump campaign may have come from the Clinton camp. Despite this, the Obama intel community forged ahead with their 2017 assessment, concluding that Russia aspired to help Trump win the election.
What's funny about all of this to me was, if any of you guys remember what was it called? Oh, damn it. Hillary Clinton sold uranium. It was called Uranium One to Russia. She's the one that negotiated the whole thing. So if anybody was in bed with Russia, wouldn't you think it would be Hillary Clinton? She helped them get more uranium to make weapons or do whatever they wanted with. And she got her fair share of the money, if you know what I'm saying. But the thing is, this was during the whole thing when she had the illegal server in her bathroom. And they testified that, even Comey testified, that Russia or China and other people could have gotten information off it because she was sending above top secret stuff through the server in her bathroom at her house. But because she did it, we shouldn't think twice about it. But it was okay for them to make up this whole thing about the PP dossier, about Trump, to hurt his chances so people wouldn't want to vote for him because he's a scummy guy. He likes to PP on hookers. You know, that's basically what the whole PP dossier is about. And she paid for it with your money that you donated to her campaign. So it's like corrupt. And this is after the other election where she was voting, or her Democrat foes or people that followed her were going to vote whether it was her or Bernie Sanders. They were going to put on the ticket. So she screwed Bernie Sanders out of it by who knows what means, because the young man that tried to bring it forward was murdered. So telling you, I live in the state where Hillary Clinton had her heyday in, and her husband helped run drugs out of Mena, Arkansas. They even made a movie about it with Tom Cruise in it called Mena. And his brother, Bill Clinton's brother, is in prison or went to prison because of it. And also, I think it was his lieutenant governor or somebody, Jim Guy Tucker or whatever. He's also went to prison. So it's like, and then Hillary Clinton supposedly said under oath that she never saw the Whitewater documents. She never touched them or whatever. And as soon as she's in the White House, guess what? Bingo, her fingerprints are on documents that she swore she never touched. I want to see these people. I want to see these people get some form of justice, because these people shouldn't be able to get away with this. They undermined all the people that went to vote. Every single American citizen that got off their couch and went to vote were used by these people. It didn't matter who you voted for. The fact that they went in and cheated and did all this stuff that they did, it took your right to vote for president of the United States and all the other people that you voted for on the ticket. They took that from you because you're too stupid to know what's best. These people felt they knew what was better for you than you do. And as every day that goes by where they're not punished for what they did, it just proves how stupid we really are, because we're just letting them get away with it, especially when we have all this evidence that's coming out, or that has been out. It's just that they tried to hide all of it and dragged people to court and tried to take everything they had. Like Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell and a whole bunch of others. I can't remember all their names, but it's sickening. It's sickening that these people are committed treason against the people of the United States of America. Basically, it's what these people did. And the evidence proves it. And that's why we've got to have good judges, and we've got to have non-corrupt courts so that we can prosecute people. I mean, believe me, if you go to court, you're going to get prosecuted. And if they have more money than you, they're going to say and do whatever they want. And they shouldn't have the right to do that. Because if you have a good judge in there that sees that they're bringing up stuff that has nothing to do with the case, just hearsay or whatever, then it should be thrown out. And that way they can't, it doesn't matter whether they're rich or not. If you guys are equal in the eye of the court, then it's fair. Then you'll be judged equally because you have a non-corrupt judge overseeing your case. And that's what we need. We really need, we just really have got to fix our courts, because I don't know how we're going to ever recover from this mess until we do that. Okay, let's see. What was this next thing? Let me close this. So hold on. And this is the next thing I found, was something from Laura Logan, which I thought was pretty interesting. So here we go. Okay, now this is just a chart, but I'm going to share it with everyone. It says, take a close look at who's been stealing elections all over the world and how they use your tax dollars to pay for it through USAID. Remember all that started coming out because of Doge. The CEPPS note it all goes back to Smartmatic. And guess who? The Open Society Foundations of George Soros. Now, remember, the first video I shared was Sidney Powell talking to Lou Dobbs. She talked about Smartmatic and where it came from, Venezuela, and those names that she listed. So all of this goes together. But I'm going to open this up here, and I'm going to hold on. Now, this is her show, and I'm not going to play it, so you can watch it yourself, but I'm going to share this link so you can go and look at her chart that she's made, and she's so good at explaining things. I just adore her. She is such a wonderful woman. I've gotten to be on a show with her a long time ago when we had a different channel on YouTube with the group of people I got to be involved with for a little bit. It was so much fun. That's what gave me the bite for doing politics and stuff, because there's so many people out there that really want the truth out, like her. Lara Logan is just a wonderful person, and she's just fighting for this country. She wants the truth to come out, and she does such a good job at explaining things if you can get to listen to her. So I'm going to share this in the chat because I wanted you to see her chart, and I really would like it. If you ever get a chance, please go there and bookmark this. And when you get the time to sit down and listen to her, and she'll explain so many things about what that chart means and everything. But it's, her show is like an hour long, and I don't had that kind of time for tonight, but it's really important if you get a chance to go listen to it, because she's awesome and she's really smart. And I think that you guys would be better off for it. But this next thing I'm going to share, it's from Pennsylvania and New York. So it's another 2 more states that are trying to get to the bottom of what's going on. So I'm gonna get that and bring that up for you. Just give me a second. Oh, here we go. Here it is. All right. He says, I was driving completed ballots from New York to PA. I don't know why, so I decided to speak up. Here's the former Kansas AG explaining 130,000 to 280,000 completed ballots for the 2020 election that were shipped from New York to PA. Biden's 81 million votes still makes 0 sense. So if anybody, honestly, after seeing what we went through for 4 years with Biden, do you really believe that 81 million people voted for him? I don't. Now, I do believe that 80 million people could have voted for Obama. I really do. And I didn't vote for him, but I can believe that many people voted for him. But I can tell you right now, there is no way that Joe Biden got more votes than Obama did. There's just no freaking way. I mean, and I don't think anyone that has any common sense that looks around, even if you're a Democrat, would say that they believed that Biden got more votes than he did. There's just no way. So if you believe that one thing, then you should listen to some of this stuff, because I'm telling you, there's just no way. That's why this kind of stuff to me is way more believable, because there's just no way he got me that many votes. But listen to this. This is very, very important. And more this is coming out in every state. But this means that New York ballots were used in another state's election. This
evidence demonstrates, and it's through eyewitness testimony that's been corroborated by others through their eyewitness statements, that 130,000 to 280,000 completed ballots for the 2020 general election were shipped from Bethpage, New York to Lancaster, Pennsylvania, where those ballots and the trailer in which they were shipped disappeared.
What happened on October 21st was a series of unusual events that cannot be a coincidence. I know I saw ballots with return addresses filled out, thousands of them, thousands, loaded onto my trailer in New York and headed for Pennsylvania. At first, I didn't think it was a big deal. In fact, I thought it was really awesome. I really did. I was like, sweet, I'm doing something for the presidential race. You know, this is cool. But as things became weirder, I got to thinking and wondered why I was driving complete ballots from New York to Pennsylvania. I didn't know why, so I decided to speak up. And that's what I'm doing today.
It could be 144 to over to 250,000 ballots. Let me tell you a little secret. Part of our developing investigation indicates that Jesse wasn't alone. There was a number, as in like a bunch of different trucks, which engaged in this. So when you think about the magnitude of potential votes showing up the night of the election after midnight, you have to have an artifact. So if you eliminate the impossible, with all things being equal, whatever remains must be the truth. Mm-hmm. The truth is, ballots showed up. They were counted. They do not match necessarily the records of who should have voted. In some instances, the stats don't add up. And we continue to analyze that. But with that said, I believe, beyond a shadow of a doubt, we have evidence of a massive transfer of completed, curated ballots ready to be injected into counting centers.
So there you go. There's even more evidence coming out that massive amounts of votes needed, because they knew they didn't have enough votes to win in Pennsylvania, so they needed them. They knew that Pennsylvania was voting in record numbers for Trump. So they had to go from one state, truckloads, like you said, of ballots to be transferred from New York to Pennsylvania so they could put them into the machines. That's why the simple act of having people sit there and count ballots by hand, it's almost impossible to get away with cheating. If you have 10 people sitting at a table and each of them are handed a stack of ballots, okay, let's say each of them are given 100 ballots or whatever, and I count out 50 ballots for one person and 50 ballots for another person, and I'll leave them in front of me. And then I raise my hand, and the not total person that comes around to get the total numbers, because my batch came from whatever precinct, they'd write down the precinct number, and then she'd say, how many ballots for this candidate? How many for that? And then she goes to the next one, does the same thing. And then You take those numbers because you have an official piece of paper that says what precinct, what number in their precinct or whatever, however they have it broken down. And then they have totals. They don't have names of people or anything. They just have total 50 votes for this person, 50 votes for that person. And they take them and they put them in another stack. And that lady or gentleman counts how many total votes went to each of the different people, because you'll have a person running for county clerk's office. You have a person running for sheriff or whatever. So it's all broken down with all the different people. But on that one ballot, you'll have this many different tallies, because that ballot is for, I want to vote for these 3 people, but I don't want to vote for those 3 people. See? So each ballot is going to have a different number on it. And that's another thing that big red flags went off for me. Because when I've been watching so many different videos from different places, and it was just funny, especially in Arizona. That one, boy, just bing, 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 lots of red lights were going off. Even though these ballots were filled out properly, just like you said, they had addresses and everything on there. So those are the ones that disappeared. So I think what happened with that, and that's just my guess, it's just my point of view, that what they did was when they got all these ballots mailed in, all they had to do is say, this person is a registered Republican. Put that in the box over there. This one's a registered Republican. Put it in that box over there. Democrat over here. Okay. Now the Democrat ones, they opened them and put them in because they pretty much knew who they were going to vote for. Now I'm telling you right now, a few of those people didn't vote for Joe Biden. I'm pretty sure, because I talked to many, many people, and quite a few of them still voted for him, even though they said, "Oh, I don't know what I'm getting, but I'm sticking to my guns. I'm going to vote for a Democrat." And I was like, "Well, that's good, as long as you vote." I really do believe that we can't scare people away from voting because they think their vote's not going to matter. It doesn't matter who you vote for. I lived through Obama. I didn't vote for him, but I didn't gripe and complain about it at all. I didn't agree with everything he did, but he did do some good things. So, but the people, record numbers of people voted for him, and he deserved to be president. That's how it's supposed to work. Same thing for Bill Clinton. I didn't vote for Bill Clinton, but he was president of the United States, and I admit that. Okay, I have no problem with that. But during that time, when I worked the polls, I never saw videos coming out in massive numbers showing people cheating, people writing on ballots that didn't belong to them, people taking boxes out from under tables and putting them in the machines. Never saw anything like that. And I worked the polls then, for Obama when that whole thing was going on. And for small elections, like for a sheriff or a runoff, things like that, I've done that. But I've never seen anything like it. It wasn't until 2020 when I saw all this weird shit, and I was like, I can't believe this is going on and nobody's doing anything. That's what I was shocked about, because I had taken an oath so many times to swear that I'm going to do what the judge says has to be done, and we had to take a class on how to count and how to write everything out properly and all that stuff, because there's rules that you have to follow, and if everyone follows the rules, guess what? It's fair. It really does work. Hi, thank you for stopping in. Mac, haven't seen you in a while, but it really does work. Okay, and it can be fair. That's why I really wish more people would sign up to either go watch how it works or to go work the polls yourself, so you can understand the whole thing. And if you have one person, let's say you have 1 or 2 people in there that want to cheat, okay, and they try to get some ballots and write on them, I'm telling you, if they got caught, they're going to go to jail, okay, because a small group of people that have been doing it for years, and they see someone trying to cheat, they're going to want them to go to jail, because they know how important it is to have the people in their community know that these people that have been here year after year want to do their job the right way, and that they've fought to make sure that you had one vote like you're supposed to, and that it means something, and it should mean something. That's why, to me, this is so important, because to save our country, we, the people, have to take it back from the criminals, because we should get what we vote for. Just like when you get your paycheck, more money should go to you since you earned it than half of it going to taxes. That's ridiculous. And we're finding out the hard way what they do with our money. When they take our money out of our check, they just spend it on whatever they want, because when it's not your own money, it's easy to spend it, isn't it? So if that was their own money, they wouldn't have done the stuff that they've done with it because it's theirs. So I'm telling you, this has been really, really frustrating for me, but it's finally happening. I'm finally starting to see it come out one state at a time. And it's sad that we have a slow law system. Okay. Sometimes it takes many years to get through that because you got this side fighting saying, no, I don't want that as evidence. I want that as evidence. And they bicker and fight and drag it out as long as they possibly can, which is horrible. I don't think that you should be able to do that. I think it should be as fast as they could possibly get it through, because one side might have shit tons of money. You know, like the whole thing. What was the name of that movie? There was a movie with Pretty Woman actress. Okay. And she was trying to stop this giant corporation from polluting the water and stuff of these people in this small town. And lots of people were getting cancer and all that. And they went through all this stuff and they were suing them. Well, this giant corporation has billions of dollars. In this little town, these people don't have hardly any money at all. So the longer they dragged it out, these people ran out of money and they couldn't fight to defend their homes and to have clean water. So there's got to be a way to balance it out that these big companies like BlackRock and whoever else can't drag shit out for 20 years until the people either die out or they're penniless. Nobody should lose their home trying to defend themselves in court. That just, to me, is ridiculous. That goes against everything that the United States should stand for, right? So I just want it to be fair. I just want it to be fair, and I want people to get to see the truth, see both sides. If you're on a jury and they bring you this evidence, and they're saying this is evidence, you and the rest of the jury get to go in a room without anybody else pointing the finger and yelling at you about, you're not reading that right, and you guys sit and get to look at it. You get to actually go through all that stuff, and you, the jury, get to decide what you believe and what you don't. Nobody else can come and tell you what isn't real. It's up to you. Then you take your version of what you believe is true, and you fill out the paperwork and you give it to the judge. Then you go in and he'll say, is this what you guys agree on? And if you say yes, then that's how it works. You don't have people looking over your shoulder telling you you're stupid, you're wrong, you don't understand what's going on. And if you have any questions, guess what? You send it to the judge, and the judge will make sure you get the answers that you ask for as a jurist. And that's the same thing that you should do for this. If you have a ballot and you don't understand something on it because it's worded to where you don't understand whether you're voting yes for it or no, guess what? Don't write anything on your ballot. Raise your hand or say, I need to speak to someone. And they'll send someone over that's a judge, a real judge that works in a court that understands law. And you just ask them, what does this mean? If I say yes, am I voting for it or am I voting against it? Because sometimes if you vote yes, it means no. So they're really good at wording it to make it hard. And most people just want to vote and leave. They don't want to hang around. And so guess what? A lot of times things get voted down that you wanted because you said yes or no, thinking you were voting the right way when you really didn't. That's why it's very important that everything that's going to be on your ballot, that you got everywhere you have to, or even at the courthouse, you can go to the courthouse and say, I saw this in the newspaper. If I vote this way, what does it mean? And they'll be happy to answer questions for you. That's why they're there. That's why you have a courthouse. That's why you have police officers. That's why you have lots of different people that are pushing these things, because they're running for office. Believe me, they want you to vote because they want to win, right? But you need to find out what you're voting for before you click that check mark or whatever, or the X or whatever it is that you decide to do. So try to get as much information as you can before you go and vote. So that way you feel more empowered, because you already understand what you want and you can go in and get it done really quickly without making any mistakes. And then when you later on you hear people talking about it and they'll say they voted against it. Well, why would you vote against it? Well, voting against the way they had it worded meant I voted for it. And then they'll go, what? That has happened before to a lot of people that I know. And they were bummed out because they realized they voted against something they really wanted and it didn't pass. One of the things was, I think it was a couple years ago here in Arkansas, to vote for legalizing medical marijuana. And I don't smoke marijuana, but when one of my sister-in-laws had to go through, she was going through breast cancer, she smoked marijuana. Because it helped her have an appetite, because the chemotherapy was just drain her dry and she couldn't eat. She was losing weight and it was really hard on her. But as soon as she started smoking a little bit of marijuana, it made her hungry. So it can help people. And that's why I wanted it on the ballot, even though I wouldn't smoke it. But then my mother had cancer. She had pancreatic cancer, which is really, really bad. And when she didn't want to smoke it. Even though we finally got it on the ballot and it passed, I said, Mom, just try it. You can get gummies. There's so many different things, but she didn't want to do it because she was so against that it was illegal. She wouldn't do it, but it would have helped. It really would have helped, because I've heard so many people say it's like a miracle, that it helps their pain, it helps them sleep, it helps them be hungry, all those things. So, know what you're going to have on your ballot and know in advance before you go, so you can vote for something that may be really important to people in your community. And you won't feel bad later on because you realize, oh, I voted the wrong way because I didn't understand. Because believe me, the side that doesn't want you to pass it, they're going to try to word it to make it look like you're voting against it or for it, just so that you'll vote the way they want you to vote. And I think it should be wrong to be able to do that. But, that's the lawyers get away with a lot of things that can do that because we don't speak the way they do. We don't understand the way they word things. So don't let them take advantage of you. Try to find out as much as you can before you go to the polls. That's all I'm saying. But okay, so that I showed that. Now this is the last thing that I thought was important. I'm going to share this. And this is about the Smartmatic machines that the very first video that I showed you with Lou Dobbs from 2020, December 2020, a month after that Sidney Powell and them said they had all this evidence about that came from Venezuela and all this different stuff. Well, this is something I wanted to share, and I'm going to share this in the chat also, the link to this, because this is very, very informative. It says that the Smartmatic is facing Department of Justice charges and allegations of election contact bribes. So this is really, really very informative, and it's all about the 2020, and they've been indicted in Florida by the U.S. Department of Justice for allegedly paying $1 million in bribes to the Philippine top election officials. Now, remember, way back when, right after it happened, there was all the rumors were flying about, that supposedly military went in and raided this place. I don't know if it was in Russia or some other country, maybe the Philippines or somewhere, and they had taken some servers and there was a firefight. And I heard so many stories. And I didn't know if it was true or not, because it wasn't in my state. It didn't happen anywhere near me. I was in Louisiana. I was like, I hadn't heard anything or seen anything, because in my state and where I was at, I didn't see anybody cheat. I mean, everybody seemed happy and everything went, real smooth. But this kind of stuff is coming out, and the more we can inform ourselves, the more we can research, the better off we are. Because then when it does come to fruition, does go to court, you won't be going, what the hell does this mean? I don't understand. You'll already have some of the information. So it'd be a little easier for you to understand when we're seeing it go through the system, through the courts. And when you see all the people that come forward, the whistleblower is trying to explain how it happened, where they were at and how other people were doing certain things or whatever. It's easier to understand if you have as much information already in front of you and you've already, like Smartmatic, you'll understand, oh, I heard about that. That was back in 2020. You got little tidbits already. So you can start putting the puzzle pieces together. So that's what I recommend. But I'm going to copy this real quick, this article, and I'm going to put it in the chat because I really do think all of this put together is huge. It's really all starting to come together. And it took forever. That's what I just don't understand, how one state can get right down to it really quickly within, weeks. They're already on it and they're ready to, prosecute people. And within half a year, they've already gone to court and put 2 people in jail or fined some people because they were stealing ballots and moving them somewhere and things like that. And then you got another state, it's been 2 years and they still haven't had picked a trial date because they keep postponing, and it just goes on and on. And to me, that all goes back to corrupt judges. If a judge is on the payroll and he's going to throw in his 2 cents here and there and get something thrown down, just like it was like 7 or 8 months ago, I did a show and it was about child trafficking and other things with kids. And that one guy that she was talking about, that every time he went before the judge would find some reason to just say, well, we're not going to put him in prison. We're not going to do this. We're going to put him in rehab. And then he'd get out in 3 days, or 3 weeks. And he's out doing the same stuff. Just like we found out about that poor woman that was killed on the subway, another woman that was burnt alive. All these people were out of jail over and over and over and over again. And the only reason that happens is when you have a system that isn't thinking about the law. They're just, I don't know what they're doing, but they're definitely not following the law, because those people wouldn't be right back out on the street again to reoffend over and over and over 100 times, It's disgusting. So the only way that that's going to change is when the people that live in those areas demand something to be done. But people either too busy, they're tired, they don't give a shit because it doesn't affect them today. It's sad that we have to wait till somebody in your own family or someone you care about has something really bad happen to them. Once that happens and you're saying, damn, I wish I'd listened, or I wish I'd done something. It's too late. It's too late when one person gets hurt because of it. To me, it's too late. And I don't know these people. I'm probably never going to meet some of these people. I mean, I live out in Hillbillyville. I have to worry about coyotes and I have to worry about bears and rattlesnakes and stuff like that. I don't have to worry that much about someone, driving to my house and trying to rob me or do something like that, like a lot of you people have to that live in the city, with people that, you don't know if that judge just let that guy out that raped 5 women and now he's next door to your house and you got a daughter and a wife that you don't know what could happen to them. It's sad that we have to live like this when we should just trust in our courts to do the job and put people in jail that deserve to be there. So I don't know. That's all I can tell you is that we have to start stepping up and doing something. Get your Sunday school class to say, okay, we're going to try to help by passing out flyers from the police department showing that 4 pedophiles live in our neighborhood. Stuff like that. You're allowed to do that. If they're a registered sex offender, you are allowed to let your neighbors know there's a registered sex offender living in our community. That's legal. You can do things like that. And what better way to save your families and your kids to let them know to not leave your children out alone, not to let your mom walk by herself with the dog because there's a pedophile or there's a rapist that lives in your neighborhood. There's so many different things that you can do that seem like dumb, but if you can help save someone, it's worth it. Don't you think? I think it's worth it. And that's it. That's the only thing I wanted to do is I wanted to give everybody a heads up on all this information that's come out from Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, New York, Pennsylvania, and then all this other stuff that's coming out about the 2020 election that has to do with the PP dossier, who signed off on all that stuff. All this is all factual stuff that's coming out on the news, and people are being indicted and stuff now, finally. But we have to wait till it plays out in court. And I know that sounds like shit. I mean, it sucks, but that's what we asked for. We asked for people to start being held accountable. We have to accept that we live in a nation of laws. Okay. And the reason our country is so wonderful is because we do have laws. We should have laws. We have so many laws on the books. We just have to have police officers and judges and court systems that follow the law. That's what we need. And unless we hold them accountable, who's going to? Nobody. I don't see anybody. It's up to us. So think about that in the next week or so as you watch things come up on the news. And if you think something seems interesting, write a note or just put it on your phone. Type a note on your phone or talk to your phone and put a note on there. I'm going to read about whatever that it is. I'm going to look that up. And when you have a few minutes, look it up. Find out. Inform yourself on your own, because you are capable of finding out as much as you need to find out if you put some effort into it. Because I tell people, if you're in the bathroom and you're not doing anything, do it. Look something up really quick on your phone and then bookmark it or whatever, or listen to a video while you're in the bathroom. I listen to videos, believe it or not, while I'm taking my bath. I put my candles on and then I put my documentary on or whatever, and I just sit there and listen to it. You don't have to watch all these. It's just like an audiobook. You just listen to what they're saying, and if there's something important, you push pause and say okay, and then you watch it, that part of it. But there's so many ways to inform yourself, and you don't have to be the one stuck at the end because you're like, oh, I don't know, I didn't hear about that, I never heard of such things, because you're not trying to be informed. I mean, it's funny because I have 4 sisters, and I'll bring up something, and one sister will say, yeah, man, that was like whatever. We start talking about it, and the other ones are going, I never heard of it. So just because you have a lot of people in your family doesn't mean you all hear the same news. That's why it's important to share it with other people in your family, in your church, in your bowling league, in your hunting club, your golf team, whatever you have. There's people out there that are uninformed. And the best way to help our communities and our states and our country is by sharing. So that's it. I'm done for the night. I hope I didn't bore you everyone to death. But I wanted to get this out of the way because we don't usually talk about, we don't really talk that much about the jab or the election stuff, this kind of stuff on the Friday Night Shit Show. Tomorrow night, we're definitely going to be talking about what's going on in Minnesota. All the Somali fraud, which it's not just in Minnesota, people. It's happening in Ohio. I think I've heard stories about it happening in California, Texas, and even Florida. So all those planes, okay, that boils down to that for me, is that all those planes that a couple of senators were trying to find out about that had I think it was in Florida and Texas. They had planes in the middle of the night loading with illegals from different places. They didn't say what country or anything. They said illegals with no passports, with nothing, basically. They were putting them on planes and flying them to specific states in the middle of the night. So I wonder why. I mean, if you think about it, if some were going to California, or some were going to Ohio, because I know there's a lot of stuff going on with that. And then they went there, they had credit cards. A lot of them were wearing white tracksuits and had brand new Nikes and backpacks and all kinds of stuff. Like they were specifically chosen to come over the border to go do something for whoever was paying their way. So all of this is interesting, and all of it little by little is coming out. So just try to pay attention to that kind of stuff that's coming out. Don't all look in one direction, because that's what they want. They want you to stay focused on one little thing and not pay attention to all the other things. Well, guess what? It's best to know a little about everything than nothing about one thing. You see what I mean? Because if you know a little bit later, you can say, oh, I remember that. I got to go look that up. It'll help you remember things. So just make sure that you love your family, give them a hug, tell them you love them. That's the most important thing at the very top of the list. But the second important thing is to make sure that you try to fight to stay free in your own towns and in your states. And the only way to do that is through you. So we owe that to ourselves as Americans. But I hope you guys like my outro. Hope you enjoy it. You guys have a wonderful evening. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
If you voted for Donald Trump, that means that you stand for everything that is going on in our country right now. That you stand for all these tariffs. That you stand for this mass deportation. That you stand for getting men out of women's sports. I mean, the list goes on and on. You actually stand for this. If you voted for Trump, you actually stand for this. And if you voted for Trump, I just want to say that I love you and thank you so much for saving this country. Have a blessed day.